What is going on, Washington fans? Welcome back to We Hail. We are talking about our new hire, new acquisition, whatever you want to call it, of Cliff Kingsbury. Before I dive into that, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this channel. You'll get videos like this all the time, and I post a couple times a week, just updating about what Washington's doing. Sometimes I'll do some mock drafts. More or less, it's just me stating the news and then giving my opinion on what I hear from the news. So with that being said, Washington has acquired a brand new offensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator is Cliff Kingsbury. Used to be the head coach, or it was the head coach. I think it was the head coach of Texas Tech Red Raiders. He was a head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, and then he was offensive coordinator, or at least some kind of offensive mind, I should say, whenever for Oklahoma, and he was also one for last year's for USC. So there's a lot of positives that I take from this. A lot of very few negatives, but a lot of positives. One of those positives is we get rid of Eric Bieniemy. Now I'll talk about Eric Bieniemy a little bit later. It's not in a way of like I don't think there's anything wrong with Eric Bieniemy. I just think he has a long way to go before he can be a head coach. I mean, everyone was hyping him up to be this next great head coach that's just been sitting in the wings, waiting for his opportunity. And last year he showed that why he's not ready yet. And I can go over that a little bit later. So, Cliff Kingsbury, what does he do offensively? Well, let's disconnect some things real quick. Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive coordinator, is going to be way different than Cliff Kingsbury, the head coach. Cliff Kingsbury, the head coach, was able to develop Kyler Murray, create a good offense for him to flourish in, but the rest of the team fell by the wayside. Okay, Cliff Kingsbury with us is just going to be focused on coaching, and he's going to have a quarterback-minded coach to coach our quarterbacks, or quarterback, or whoever our quarterback is. I still think it's going to be it should be Sam Howell. Don't waste our time with the quarterback this draft. Spend all of our time and resources on building the offensive line to be the best it can be. Because under the air raid offense, here's the thing. Under an air raid offense, you have to have good offensive line. A lot of air raid offenses, they go out of empty sets or just 5 linemen. They don't have tight ends very often. So you got to understand that if they're doing that, either A, they got to draft a quarterback that is used to that, or B, they're going to build an offensive line to protect whatever quarterback they have. I think they're going to go with the second option there because we need an offensive line, period. And now we just have a system where they just have to double down on getting that offensive line fixed in pretty much one off season. So that's the thing about an air raid offense. He was the coach that pretty much discovered Patrick Mahomes and coached him up in college. If you hear something, if I'm talking weird to you, I have a cough drop in my mouth because I've been sick. But this stuff needs talked about. And so I'm going over that. And it's been like a very bad, a very deep cough. And that's pretty much all it is. But it's enough that if I don't have the cough drop in, I'll cough a decent amount. And, earlier, like yesterday, I had like that deep voice, like that, hey, welcome to the radio. We're listening to these songs today. It was very deep, so it looked like I should be like a radio personality. But anyway, Cliff Kingsbury, I'm excited about this hire. After we basically didn't get Ben Johnson, but now I'm like reading more about it. Maybe Ben Johnson wouldn't have been the best candidate anyway, and we've been buying into the hype, and maybe that's why we didn't go with him. That's why we didn't want to pay him top dollar amount, because during our discovery process we realized, you know what, maybe he is a little overhyped. Maybe it isn't what it's cracked up to be, and then that's why they went to Dan Quinn, because they realized like maybe we need a leader of men, not just a guy who's smart with football. That happens all the time where they'll hire a really high-end offensive coordinator and then he ends up not doing well at all as a head coach. So maybe they realize that during the process. We will never know. Maybe someday they'll do a 20 for 20 or an NFL Football Life or something where they discuss how Dan Quinn got his second opportunity and he won like a Super Bowl or something, and that comes out. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it's a future thing. I can only speculate. Can't really guarantee anything at this moment. But more or less, what I want to get to, though, is I like the Cliff Kingsbury signing. He probably was one of the best options available. We did not get Chip Kelly, thank God. So I would have been very upset we got Chip Kelly because I can't stand Chip Kelly. He's got great ideas that work in college, but it doesn't translate to the NFL very well. And I could go over wax poetically all day about what I like about Cliff Kingsbury's offense and the potential of the offense, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna talk about other things. I did say I was gonna do a video. The next video I was gonna do questions answered. I'm only 4 minutes in, so I think it's appropriate for me to move on from Cliff Kingsbury. I'll give a thumbs up on the signing. it looks like we're putting together a pretty decent staff. I like the head coach. I like Dan Quinn. I like his moxie. I like his personality. I like those things. I like Cliff Kingsbury. If he comes in, if we draft a quarterback, I think the quarterback's in pretty good hands. I think Sam Howell will be in better hands with him. So either way that goes. And now that we've kind of committed to doing some kind of air raid offense, which air raid offense doesn't mean we're going to pass all the time. Okay? This is something I'm going to talk about with Eric Bieniemy for a second, because I have two things I want to go over with like my YouTube. One is a comment I had on another video, and I'm going to get to that in a second. And the other one is comments on my video, and I said I'd answer some questions, so there's going to be some questions on there. So let's go ahead and switch over to my comment on another video. So this is a video by a YouTuber. His name is Microphone. I recommend him. He's a Dallas fan, but he's pretty objective about a lot of things. So he doesn't, I guess he doesn't know maybe all the ins and outs of Washington. He does have a lot of things on here he talks about Eric Bieniemy and his opportunity in Washington. But here's my comment right here. So I'll put it center stage, and I'll kind of read it to you. I want to know what you think. I did do this while I was in traffic driving yesterday, so don't at me about the spelling. It's just literally me saying it. I wasn't going to go and edit everything. And here's what I commented. So in this video, there's a lot of things like he's speculating why he Washington let go of him so quick. He didn't really say that it was a good or bad idea that Washington let go of him. He just basically speculated as to why he only got 1 year. And this is what I wrote. As a Washington fan, I was excited originally about hiring Eric Bieniemy. I don't know why it says a very enemy. It has to, the speaking thing does not pick up Eric Bieniemy very well. I thought there's no way he could be worse than Scott Turner. One worry, one caveat that I'm going to paraphrase it. One caveat that I had about Eric Bieniemy is he doesn't like to run the football. Washington had the fewest attempts this year of any, and he had decent backs. It wasn't like we had bad running backs this year. Of any backs, Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson were both solid backs, and that he could have used more often in the running game. And because of Eric Bieniemy, we never ran the ball that much. It put a lot of pressure on our young quasi-rookie quarterback. Because I say quasi-rookie because Sam Howell technically was in his second year, but he played zero football except for the last game the year before, and took zero snaps in practice as any, even a backup. He took very little snaps, so that's why I say quasi-rookie. But in essence, he was a rookie. He's now played full season, so now you can't give him the rookie stigma. So his play calling was not very well balanced. That's the first problem that I have with Eric Bieniemy. The second problem I have, he did not do a good job of making the deficiencies of the offensive line, or a good job masking the deficiencies of the offensive line. Obviously, the offensive line was not very good, and a more balanced attack would make the offensive line a little better. It would also make Sam Howell look a little better as well. Sam Howell got sacked 65 times this year. I know a lot of people will say that that's on Sam Howell, but when you're getting to the last step of your drop and you're getting hit, that's not Sam Howell. That's not Sam Howell problem. If he sat back for like 8 seconds and got sacked, that's a covered sack. That's on him. You gotta get rid of the football. I watched every minute of every game. The play calling was abysmally unbalanced, and which is weird because Eric Bieniemy used to be a running back. Ultimately, Eric Bieniemy has a lot to show before he's going to be an offensive coordinator again, much less a head coach. I listened to the Beltway Football Podcast, which is with J.P. Finley and Mitch Titcheler, which is by two. I basically says by two journalists in D.C., and they mentioned up until the first preseason game, they had not ran the ball one time in practice. Never practiced it until the week of the first preseason game. So obviously the balance is not the priority. Obviously keeping the defense honest is not a priority, and that's why he's no longer an offensive coordinator. So, like I said, doesn't look like the most eloquent thing said because I said it into my phone, and my phone doesn't translate well, even though I got the new S24 Ultra. But ultimately, what do you guys think of that comment? Do you agree or disagree? I know there's a lot of people going to disagree, but I have my opinion. I've watched enough game film to know. And a lot of people are commenting here that like this first one here, I don't understand how they could fire Eric Bieniemy. He took the offense from 24th in 2022 to 24th in 2023. That's not improvement. That's not improvement at all. He also got sacked way more. So that's a factor as well. There's a bunch of things I can go into this, but I just want to know your comments on that. And now I'm going to switch over to this. Now, this is one of my, I think it's a subscriber, but one of my followers, Tiger0366, he asked me a bunch of questions, and I did ask for questions. So I'm going to read a bunch of them, answer them as I can, and that'll pretty much conclude this video. One, if you could trade down 4 times, 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6, would you do it? If I could trade down a bunch of times, yes, I would, to a degree. So I think Washington should draft a first round Joe Alt. So whatever we can trade back to that still kind of guarantees us Joe Alt, and we're not missing out on a potential starting offensive tackle right away. Trade back down to that. So I think around 5 or 6 would be as late as you can go before you're going to miss out on that. If we drafted Marvin Harrison Jr., I wouldn't hate that because we only have like 4 receivers on the roster. But I really don't want to spend another first round pick on a receiver. We could probably get a receiver of decent talent in later rounds. So that's not a priority for me. It's not a priority to get quarterback. I think Sam Howell's the guy. I think we can draft the quarterback late and have him just as a good backup, develop him as a good backup. Well, Cliff Kingsbury can develop a good backup quarterback. Okay. The NFL Draft Simulator allows trades to add a pick each time. So my thing is I say trade back. So for example, let's say the Patriots want to trade back and they're going to give us a second and a third and swap first. I'm cool with that. Okay, I'm good with that. Having draft capital is always a good thing. You can always set up for next year. You can always set up to switch the team, turn the team around in like 1 year this year. So there's a lot of benefits to it. I think you're also going to get a pretty good talent even if you trade back 5 spaces. You're still going to get pretty decent talent. It's first round. Okay. Would you draft Pratt or Talia with a late pick? I don't know who those people are. I'm assuming they're quarterbacks. Maybe if it's like later round. So I didn't research this. So this is all candid right now. I did not research who Pat and Talia are. So I don't know the answer to that question. But if they're quarterbacks, if it's later round picks, sure. I don't think we need a quarterback. I've listed my opinion pretty adamantly on this channel. I think a lot of people gave up on Sam Howell way too early. Way too early. The offensive line was bad. Receivers did not have a good year. Terry McLaurin's our best receiver, and he didn't have a good year. Tight ends were dropping passes left and right. We had an unbalanced offense. I just listed a ton of things, and somehow all that's supposed to be Sam Howell's fault. I don't understand that. The offensive coordinator could run more balanced plays, and play action helps young quarterbacks. It helps the offensive line because the defense can't pin their ears back and just come and get it. So that's my opinion. I think quarterback would just set us back a couple more years because we're not building. We got to build the line and everything before we drop in a quarterback. And that was initially Ron Rivera's plan. He said we're going to build a team and then drop in a quarterback. But instead of like the first year, his initial plan was play a bunch of guys, keep some cap space, get a very low draft pick or a high draft pick so we can draft our next quarterback or whatever. But then he's like, oh, I can win a division and make myself look good for a year. And we ended up getting like middle of the pack first round picks and never got our quarterback until Sam Howell. And Sam Howell fell into his lap in like the 5th round. He got lucky with it. So that's my opinion on that. Okay, so next question. Would you trade Allen for 2 top 100 picks? He has 2 years left. That would bring us 11. Otherwise, we simply lose him after 2. So I don't think, I think if it was an offensive minded coach, that might be the case. But I don't think Dan Quinn's going to do that. Dan Quinn, defensive-minded coach, is going to find. He actually talked about Allen and Payne in his press conference. I don't think he would do that. I think he wants the best defensive line possible because it's going to make the rest. His defense runs based on pressure. Okay, he runs a zone scheme, and it's going to run based on pressure. He did the same thing in Seattle when he had the Legion of Boom. It was all about getting pressure, and the cornerbacks and linebackers, played a zone, and Dallas did the same thing last year. So I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's going to want to keep as many until he drafts to replace him. I don't think he's going to get rid of Allen. That's just my personal opinion. Would I do it? Would I be mad about it? I wouldn't hate it. But if we're trading Allen, we better get at least one first and a second. Okay, at least those two. Okay, I'm not trading him for 2 seconds or something. He's been too valuable a player, and that just seems undervalued to me. When it got rid of Montez Sweat, he wasn't on a contract. He hasn't been with us for an extended period of time where I'm like, oh yeah, okay, we're losing out on all these years of production we had. No, he kind of came into his own in the last 2 years, and Chase Young has never been, other than his rookie years, never been a player to me that's lived up to the potential. I could go over game films. I think I might have had one a long time ago, but it was about why Chase Young is like so ineffective after his first year. And John Allen kind of alluded to that in like press conferences where guys are being selfish, they're not playing the scheme, they're not doing that. I'm gonna tilt this down just a smidge. I got a Dragon Ball Z shirt on. Hope you like Dragon Ball Z. So, all right, let me just sneak forward a little bit. Got that. Okay, so I answered that question. My only criticism of Quinn is accepting the never notion of turning down 3 points for instead of a fourth down option at the 30. Reason you make it, you still aren't getting 7 yet. Lombardi would take the points. He did this twice and lost both times. So this is what I don't like about Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera, he always took these risks, and I think in one season I added up all the points I left on the board. And his first season here, when he was coaching Dwayne Haskins, and I added up all these points that cost us, and we could have just been in games late, but it cost us, so we were at a point where we're always down by 2 possessions later in the game. Whenever his first year coaching, so if you just take the points and get the points, we'd have been in a lot better situations in a lot of games that wouldn't have made Dwayne Haskins the last year he was there so rough, because he always had to play from behind. There's a lot of things he had to do that just didn't put him in position to be successful. And Ron did that so many times with Sam Howell. He did it with Taylor Heineke. Just take the points. Okay, rely on your team. Okay, you can't. It's not like the defense the last couple of years. Last year was horrible, but there's years where defense was adequate and will get off the field and get the ball back to the offense. Just take the points when you get them. And we didn't have the talent to try to do all this risky stuff. So analytics say a lot of things about football, but you can't coach on analytics. Okay, because how do you develop a team around analytics? How do you develop fundamentals around analytics? Analytics, like the percentages say you should do this. Okay, percentages say you should do a lot of things, but you're dealing with professional athletes that minimize those analytics, and its skill asserts itself, so you can't always rely on it. In high school and college football, you're not dealing with professional athletes, you're dealing with amateurs. So analytics like that can work in your favor because it's not taking in the skill set, it's taking in the luck factor of football. And there's a fun video by Vox. It's about analytics in football and sports and how statistically things happen. Like football is one of the most, I'll go off on tangent for a second. So I have a coworker of mine. His name is Scott. I call him Scotty Boy, but we did this thing where I had everyone in my store, they signed up on ESPN, and you had to pick who wins every game every week. And Scotty Boy was just behind me by a couple points behind me. You get 10 points a game you have right. I ended up in the top 90 percentile of ESPN, but he was right behind me. And he was like, I think it's crazy that you watch football and I don't. And I'm right behind you. I'm like, that's because football is a very luck-based sport. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, football is a higher percentage of luck. You have 11 players each side of the football. One guy screws up, you get a touchdown. There's a lot of luck involved. There's not enough games in football to really assert who really is the best team. It's just who gets hot at the right time. Okay? If we'd had a conversation around week 6 or 7 about who the best teams in football were, I think 49ers are coming off a 3-game losing streak, and the Chiefs lost 2 of the first 3 games. Okay? So it's not about who the best team is, it's about who's the hottest team at any given moment. So NBA and hockey do a much better job. I would say NBA is probably does the best job of showcasing who is actually the best team, because you play 82 games, okay? And in the playoffs, you got to play 7 games. So over 7 games, the best team should assert itself 4 times. So it's a higher probability. Whereas an NFL game, look at 2 years ago, or was it last year? It was last year. Last year, if the 49ers and the Eagles would have played 3 times, would they had the same outcome? No, because the one outcome, the luck, or bad luck, I should say, the 49ers didn't have a quarterback for a whole game, for 3 quarters. So obviously it's a shoe-in that the Eagles go to the Super Bowl. But if they played 2 more games, 49ers could have got a quarterback. They could have signed someone off free agency. They could have fixed that, and the next 2 games could have been a much different outcome. So that's what I mean by football is more luck-based. It's just more probability because of how many players are out there. Now, good coaches kind of eliminate that probability. That's a different discussion. But so to sum up that question, that comment is, I think you take the points. I think to take the for sure thing. You can always add points later, but always take the points and rely on your defense. You have a defense for a reason. If you take the points and the defense can't stop the other team from scoring, then you know that the offense isn't the problem. And you can fix the getting in the end zone part, but always take the points. Because what's on the board is what's going to be mentioned and talked about. Okay. Peters said he is rebuilding through the draft. He doesn't like rebuilding. He doesn't like rebuilding to replace quarterback. Is that something Dan Snyder would do as a drawing card? Yes, Dan Snyder. Any chance Dan Snyder got with a high pick, except for Trent Williams, he would go and get a quarterback. As Dan Snyder would overrule the entire coaching, the scouting, and everything, and say, you know what, I want this quarterback. Go get him. That's what he did with Dwayne Haskins when what's his name, Jay Gruden wanted to go get an offensive lineman. Instead of that, we got Dwayne Haskins, which didn't last very long. We ended up letting him go. So Peter said he was building through the draft. It doesn't sound like he's rebuilding quarterback. And I like rebuilding through the draft, but we have $70-some million, and I think we can cut some people. It's going to be about $100 million in cap space. I'm not just going to solely build through the draft. Sorry. Coughed up right out. It's kind of sharp. Cut the tongue. So, yeah, Snyder would do that, but we don't need to. We have new owners. That's a draw enough right now. We need to win. That's going to draw people in. So Snyder would do that to get jersey sales and not care about the seasonal outcome of that decision. He would care about the money, that the short-term gain, not the long-term gain. Peters is building a long-term solution for football, and Josh Harris as well, a long-term solution with long-term success. You're not going to do that by drafting a quarterback with a high draft pick and not having the offensive line to protect them. Okay? What would have been the effect of having Maine, Williams, or Daniels at quarterback this season, straight up? I don't think they would have been better. I don't think so either. I actually think they probably would have been a little bit worse. Sam Howell has the ability, and this is something that is very underrated. And some people are going to argue with me he doesn't have this ability. If you watch him, he does throw guys open. He'll throw guys that are covered. Like, if you have I wish I had like a game film to show this, but if you have if the quarterback's like over here, and this is the defense, this is the receiver, he's covered right now. But if you throw the ball over this to where he's going, now he's no longer covered. So he throws guys open. That's what that phrase means. So he throws it to where he's going, where he couldn't throw a direct pass, but he can lob the pass over and do it. He's done that. He's done it a couple times. And I think he has a lot of playmaking abilities that is very underrated. Maine, Williams, or Daniels at quarterback. I think Maine Drake May is not going. I think Daniels is probably the best of these three, if I'm being honest. Daniels would have done very bad though because of the same issues that we're having with Sam Howell. Is he got sacked a lot, and Sam Howell's pretty mobile. Daniels apparently is not very mobile at all. Williams is extremely mobile, but Williams likes to play hero ball, so I think that would have been about the same outcome. And May, I just don't think is as good as the other two. So I don't think I would have been good either. Our problem with Sam, and this is what I mean by I think people just gave up on him way too early. And I'm not going to get too much into that aspect, but I just think that they gave up on him, and the things around him weren't ideal. And I think the things around him more ideal, you're going to see a completely different football player. Okay? That's just the best way I'm going to put it. So I think the major reason Eric Bieniemy failed is his offensive calls and playbook were more obviously given down and distance and yard line, and that was programmed by AI, artificial intelligence. I don't know what this thing is, but I kind of want to click on it. I have not clicked on it yet, so I hope this. No, I want to open. Nope. Well, let me do it. Okay, I'm not going to do it. So I don't know what this is. For all I know, it's some dirty stuff. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm not going to load it up. I may look at it later and maybe do a thing on it. But I agree with you. Now, here's the thing. Like, a lot of times we put behind the sticks because, one, we're not calling short passing plays. We're calling long developing plays that get our quarterback sacked. Or our quarterback just gets sacked because the play call sucks. Because it takes longer to develop, or I just don't know why we didn't establish the run. I don't know why there's so many offensive coordinators in the NFL who just get pass happy. As much as I prefer Jay Gruden over Ron Rivera, that was something Jay Gruden did. He'd get very pass happy and get away from the run. But if you look at his coaching tenure, when he ran the ball, a design 25 times or more, I think that's what the stat was, he was like 25-1. When you ran the ball more, when we were balanced and had more time in possession, we won a lot of games under Jay Gruden. And me as a person who is not, I don't get paid to do this. I don't get paid to talk about football. I don't get paid to coach football. Nothing. He got paid to do that. And how you not look at yourself internally and say, what are we doing? What actually contributes to our winning? And that was something that contributed. It was always running the ball and being consistent with it. But he get pass happy, and then we got away from it, and then we ended up losing. We won some games doing that, don't get me wrong, but we won more games consistently when we had 25 designed runs. It was like 23-1 or something like that. It was like 25-1. It was years ago. I actually had in a video that came out like 4 or 5 years ago where I explained this, but no one ever watched my video. So I mean, tried to send it to Jay Gruden, he didn't listen. So, do you trust the NFL helmet system? Yeah, I guess so. I don't know if they're gonna do like the helmet system, or if they actually maybe give them an earpiece, kind of like Secret Service, security guards, spies, whatever. I think those are a little bit more reliable because they're not getting hit as much. Football helmets are getting hit all the time, so maybe that's why I don't really rely on them. Do you think it would be an interesting experiment to let QB call the plays and hurry up? Sure. Depends on the quarterback, though. Most times the plays are called in hurry up are actually scripted, or it's quick plays that get you out of bounds. So there's not a lot of different play calls you can have in that. Now, if it's a 2-minute offense and you only have 2 minutes and you have things to do, it would make sense to do it that way. Or they probably talked about this. They've probably planned for this. Most good teams plan for it. So now what I will say is that there's something I've been, I may run, hold on, I'll just get to all the questions at the end. Do you, what combination of offensive plays would exploit Sam Howell's running? Well, we never run a lot of RPO. That's the first thing with Sam Howell. Sam Howell isn't the most gifted of runners, but he is a pretty good runner and he's pretty elusive. The only problem I have with Sam Howell's running is he is tough. So he doesn't mind sticking his nose and getting hit. That's the only thing real gripe I have about Sam Howell and his running ability is his running ability. He does not mind getting hit, but he's going to get hit by the wrong player. Happened first game this year against the Cardinals. They were taking some hits on him out of bounds. And, I mean, it shows his toughness. That's one thing I respect about Sam Howell, but that's also one thing I worry about Sam Howell is he doesn't get down when he should. He doesn't just take the yards and live to fight another day. He's gonna take some hits, and he might potentially get to the point where he's taking too many hits. But I think with the better offensive line and stuff, he'll take less of those. Would Harris or Bowers have made a difference this past season than a different quarterback? No. So here's the thing statistically about Washington. If you look up Washington's, so it's analytically, it's Washington's receivers were not very good last year. They're we had the lowest distance from defender when the balls were thrown to them than any other team in the league. So that's where I think that this is not Sam Howell's doing. There's a lot of combination of things. Offensive line bad. There wasn't a lot of separation by our receivers, and I think that's because there's not the greatest play calling. There wasn't design plays to get guys wide open. I think it was just a set play and find the guy that's open. So that's just me. We didn't have, there wasn't a great, like I said, there's a stat with how far you are from the defender when the ball's thrown to you. And we're one of the worst in the league. Like, we didn't have guys wide open. So that was a problem. And I think that was, so I don't think Bowers or Harrison would have helped too much in that regard. Because, well, I mean, they might have been getting more open because they're younger and faster but we have young and fast guys. That's not the problem. The problem was scheme-wise, like some plays were predicted. We weren't balanced enough that cornerbacks had to keep their eyes in the backfield that often. Linebackers didn't have to, like, so a lot of linebackers take that first step forward. That was what I was taught when I played college football. And you take that first step forward, and then you got to retreat back into your either A, your man coverage, or B, your zone coverage. A lot of teams weren't doing that. We literally had a game against Seahawks where after the game, you had Pete Carroll was saying, yeah, we were actually just surprised they ran the ball this time or that time. So in a better offense, do you have more opinions when quarterback is under center? I don't really in particular about quarterback being under center or not. That's not my problem. What I do not like about being in shotgun, though, all the time, is sometimes you can just go so wide as the defense, you just outrun the where the offensive tackle can get to you to protect the quarterback. That is one downside to shotgun. It makes the angles to get to the quarterback very much wider, so even safeties can come in and have an effect. If you're under center, it eliminates that. It eliminates a lot of those angles, so you got to go around this way to get to the quarterback. So I just think better offense, quicker passes, things like that would have helped this year. And Sam Howell's capable. I just don't think the play calling was great. So I'm going to move around a lot. I'm trying to get comfortable. Okay, what happened to counter gap? I think CMDRs tried it once or twice and blew it. I think there's too long developing plays, and when you don't have a great offensive line, those things take too long to do, more or less. So that's my answer to that. I don't like long developing run plays. It's like I don't like reverses unless you have the defense on their heels. Okay, if they're reeling, then you run it like something like that, and it takes advantage of them, trying so hard to stop like a downhill run or something like that. Criticize build offenses with the draft and defense with free agency. I don't disagree with that because I think we're going to sign Josh Allen in free agency. So that's going to be one of our defensive ends that we're going to find and utilize. And I think we're going to find possibly corner linebacker. I don't think we need safeties. I think safeties, we're just loaded up with some safeties that are going to do pretty good. It's with a better scheme. So I have no issue with that. But I like building through the draft because you have the players for long term. Free agency, you're pretty much always, except the way Ron did it, he would just wait till everyone else got picked, and then whatever's left, he'd get them for cheap. I think you build through the draft because you're getting, one, you can develop the player how you want. If you go through free agency, you're getting a player that someone else developed for their scheme, and it might always work. Look at William Jackson III. Fantastic cornerback under I think it was the Bengals. Okay, he was a fantastic quarterback under their system. Came to us, garbage. Because it wasn't the same system, and he was working that system. And when he came to us, it just didn't translate well. So the free agencies, you have to worry about that when you're developing the guys up to that point. So let's say they're on a 4-year, 5-year contract. 4 or 5 years being developed to be part of someone else's defense or offense, you run that risk every time. And you also, most defensive players and most free agencies, you overpay for. So building through the draft makes it so you can get the guys you want. You can develop them the way you want. They're going to mold into your vision of what they are as a football player and how they fit your scheme. So I prefer building through the draft. Supplement whatever you need in some areas with free agency. I think defensive end is not going to change very much based on your position, so I think that's when it doesn't change. So that's why I think Josh Allen from Jacksonville will be a good signing. Someone else, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, from Carolina, that would be a good option too. So the contention that next year's QB lacks quality compared to this year's draft. I'm not quite sure if that the next year's QB lack quality compared to this year's in the draft. I don't understand the question, but more or less, I think Sam Howell has a year under his belt. He's seen some defenses. He has a year of tape too, so now a coach can better design an offense around his strengths and hide his weaknesses if they are any. And then judging the O-line by collective strength. I've never done that. I judge them by their ability to protect their quarterback. 65 sacks. I don't care how many you think were Sam Howell's. It's still a lot of sacks that are going to be result of the offensive line. If you watch the game and say, all of them are Sam Howell, you're nuts. If you watch the game and say all of them are offensive line, you're nuts. But I do put more on the offensive line because that's their job to protect him. Sam Howell's job is to find a guy to throw the football to. Now, he can develop and get better at throwing the ball away, but he's not getting a lot of coverage sacks. A lot of people act like he was just standing back there holding the ball forever. Okay? If he holds the ball forever and gets sacked, you say you're holding the ball. If he throws the ball away too early, like he just gave up on the play, there's no winning there. But But at the end of the day, the offensive line is responsible for stopping him from getting sacked. And if they're not doing that, they're not doing their job. Okay? His job is to throw the football. Their job is to protect him. Okay, there's a little bit of a crossover of how he can avoid things. He did pretty good scrambling around at times. So one thing I want to add, this is not about Washington, this is football in general. What is everyone's thoughts on having the Super Bowl on Saturday rather than Sunday? And the reason why I bring that up is because on Sunday you have the game. If you have kids, they can't stay up too late because they have school the next morning. As an adult, you can't go out and enjoy the game thoroughly because you have work the next morning. You don't have to worry about people calling off the next day. Most people are off on Sundays anyway. So having it Saturday night I think would be better because I think just more people can enjoy it. The next day, you don't have to call off work. You can kind of use the next day to keep celebrating or to recoup. So there's a couple different things about that I enjoy. I understand football does pretty much own the day. NFL does own the day Sunday. They pretty much own the day of the week that day. But I think it'd just be a long-term better solution for the NFL. They probably get more viewership. They probably get a lot more things if it was done on a Saturday. So just your thoughts on that. And if you have any more questions, let me know. There is another question down here. I don't remember it off the top of my head. I'll find it and I'll message you. But I did comment back. All I did was I don't remember. I just YouTube no copyright music sports, and that's what I found. And that I found the most appealing. So the music you're hearing right now should be the same thing. And I didn't pin that. So there we go. So yeah, that's pretty much my video. A good 36 minutes of me talking about football, talking about Eric Bieniemy, talking about Cliff Kingsbury, and talking about these scenarios that were brought up by Tiger0366. So Tiger0366, I hope you see this video. I answered all your questions as best as I could. Yeah, so just let me know. That's it. Everyone like to subscribe. Oh, one more thing I do want to talk about is I do like the fact that you guys have come out in droves and got me up over 600 subscribers. You can't see it right now. Right there. Yeah, there you go. Up over 600 subscribers. I appreciate that. A lot of good amount of views. So for a long time I didn't post because of there's a lot of reasons, but extra kid, second kid, work, sick, a bunch of things. So I stopped posting for a while and then got back, and I have another channel where I do gaming. It's called JD's Nerdverse. If you want to go look at it. But I learned a little bit of this overlay stuff, and applying these overlays are pretty cool in OBS. So I think that's helped a lot. But let me know what you think about the content, about Eric Bieniemy, about Cliff Kingsbury. If you have some questions, I'll answer those in the next video as well. If you write me a book, I'll respond to the book. I appreciate that. And that's it. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. This has been JD's. This has been We Hail. So have a good one. Hail to the Commanders, and see ya.